Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. This could be fun. Hello, guys. How are you? Okay. A history hit video. I have seen this one. I've wanted to watch it. We fired weapons from the 1500s, 1700s, and 1900s. Cool. This could be fun. First video of the day. I'm getting started.
The Royal Armouries in Leeds holds one of the largest collection of armaments in the world. From the earliest long gun prototypes to muskets used in the Napoleonic Wars and the rifles that defined the 20th century.
Now for the History Hit YouTube channel, we wanted to find out what it was like to fire these iconic weapons and test our accuracy. All this with the help of British firearm historian and expert Jonathan Ferguson.
I'm really starting to realize how big of a step breech loading rifles were.
Jonathan, lovely to meet you. How are you doing?
Guys?
Nice to meet you.
I'm good.
So we're here in the Royal Armouries, surrounded by thousands of historic weapons, as you can see, and we think you've got a challenge for us.
We have, yes. So I gather you haven't fired any firearms before? No. So what we've got from 3 different eras of history, I won't spoil what they are just yet.
Okay.
We want you to have a bit of a shoot-off to see who's the better marksman. Yeah. You've got different areas of technology to play with, so you might excel earlier in history or later. See how you do.
Nervous already.
What do you think?
Yeah, not too competent, but sounds exciting.
Yeah,
you're in safe hands.
To test out these mystery weapons safely, we headed to a purpose-built firing range.
So, we've come down to the firing range to try out 3 new weapons, haven't we?
Yep.
Anyone that's seen our recent archery video will know that we're not exactly sharpshooters. We're not crack shots, are we?
No, marksmen we are not. But today, it's going to be even harder for us because this is the first time, we should clarify, the first time that we are firing these weapons. We're complete novices, but we're going to give them a go anyway, aren't we?
We get no practice shots. There's no time.
No.
We've just got to fire.
I have never shot a gun before. I would really like to one day.
And see how it goes. So let's give it a try.
To kick things off, we're heading back to the early 1500s, a century or so after the earliest forms of matchlock hand cannons first appeared in Europe.
So Jonathan, this is a really nice looking firearm, but it's not the kind of thing that we're used to probably shooting these days. What exactly is it?
Okay, so this is actually a very nice reproduction.
Sorry, I'm going to say something that's so obvious, but it is so cool how it is just a piece of wood with a barrel, a projectile, and some gunpowder. And the term hand cannon really... never mind.
You don't normally mess with reproductions, but when you're shooting something that would date to the 1530s, you kind of have to.
Understandable.
It's beautifully made, and it's what they would have called an arquebus. So it sounds kind of old hat and antique, and it kind of is. There's some
Sounds
features
like
of
a
this
sword.
you'll see it's not normal by modern firearm standards.
It seems quite plain compared to some of the more modern guns. Quite a basic design.
Yeah. I think it's just there's no standardization at this time at all. So some are quite plain, some are quite elaborate. Depends what it's for. As a military type weapon, it will tend to be more plain. But this is of the rough type that Henry VIII purchased a few hundred of, so right at the beginning of the 16th century.
So these are kicking around at the same time as people are still using longbows and crossbows on the battlefield?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, Henry VIII, although he's very high-tech, and he owned really high-tech versions of this himself, the core of his army is still using the English war bow. The crossbow has become popular, pikes, long staff weapons, swords, armour, full armour he might still be wearing.
Do you guys think that the average, I don't know what you call him, peasant or just average citizen, it's not like, I'm sure they could make a bow. Do you think it was especially, for boys to practice their archery skills? Was it more of going to a fancy school or training ground or academy, or do you think it was much more nonchalant, like making your own bow maybe if you didn't have the money, and then just shooting to get good at it, and that would promote better archers in wartime? And I'm just wondering what the culture around archery, you know, in England or in medieval France.
Into battle at this time, and yet you've got something that's recognisably, I mean, you probably call it a musket, but we call it an arquebus, or later on they use the word caliver just to confuse people further.
And what kind of ammunition are we talking about? So those are...
Yeah, we've got no cartridges.
Yeah.
Or at least we don't really know if anyone was using cartridge at this time. Later with the muskets, they've got cartridges.
Yeah.
Here we're loading loose bullets, and loose gunpowder.
And you mentioned that these could be on the same battlefield as, you know, suits of armour. How would this have fared against armour?
So in the main museum here at the Armouries, we have a display that recreates the Battle of Pavia, which is one of the battles where basically knights, men-at-arms, guys on horseback, armoured to the hilt, went into battle against guys with these. And if you were far enough away, or you had the top-notch breastplate and helmet, you might shrug off a hit from this.
Really?
But chances are you've got a pretty poor chance against this. And if you've got no armour, you're in trouble.
So, Jonathan, we're going to let you load this for us, and then we get to have a go, right?
You do get to shoot this.
I wonder if wearing armor, I mean, of course, armor or no armor, but I wonder if it would hit and then force some of your armor to become a projectile in itself and like shoot off bits of it right into you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, no one is shooting originals of this, so this is as close as it gets, and
I don't know. I'm
still
just
pretty exceptional.
Speculating.
What a privilege.
Right. So, eye and ear protection on.
Cool.
It's just as important with older style firearms. Right. So I'm going to load this thing for you because it is a bit of a faff.
Yeah.
So to do that, we have to put the butt on the ground.
Bit of a
take
fuff.
one powder flask. We pour that black powder, that gunpowder, down the barrel, being careful not to spill it everywhere. We then take a ball or a bullet, whatever you want to call it, and we're just going to load it loose without a patch. So that will just drop down. Hear it go down.
Lovely sound.
We pull out the what they then called a scouring stick, because it was also for scouring out the fouling between shots, and then make sure that's in place, which for the first shot it is. So that's the weapon loaded, but not primed.
Okay.
I'm surprised that there isn't that he didn't insert it with some kind of cloth or something else to make it more of a seal, because I'd imagine just the powder and then the bullet, a lot of the powder is probably going to escape around the bullet and might not provide as much force.
That we have to bring back the serpentine, so it's called. In fact, this is a little dragon, nicely chiseled, carved. And we take the priming powder, tap in that powder, and then we close the pan. And we have to make sure there are no loose corns of gunpowder
Around it, yeah.
around it, mainly to stop it from shutting. You also don't want extra powder going off in your face. So this is now loaded and primed.
Okay.
Ready
so
to
I'll
hand over to you.
Okay. Here we go. Been told to keep it steady and
Yes.
not aim it up at the ceiling first.
That's right, pointing down the range.
Okay.
So we're not ready to shoot just yet.
Yep.
We have a burning piece of match.
Match, okay.
Slow match, it's called.
Cool.
Have to keep that burning.
Yeah.
They used to keep a long length of it burning at both ends.
Yes,
So you
okay.
always had an ignition source.
It's quite top heavy, isn't it? This gun, the rifle, the
Yeah.
barrel. It's very
It's a
weighty.
heavy, thick, accurate barrel, actually. So that means a lot of weight up front.
Yep.
So you're going to get a bit
Both ends, just so that like you have a spare in case one side goes out.
tired if I don't.
Yeah.
get a
Let's
move
do this
on, but we have
quickly.
to be careful. So
Okay.
Let me know if I'm wrong.
Okay, so I put that on. Now this could go off at any point, so don't panic if it does, it's
Okay.
quite safe. Now this could go off at any point, so don't panic if it does, it's quite safe. And when you're ready, pull the trigger.
I'm aiming.
Yep.
And fire.
Wait. We have a misfire, very common with these things. We have to wait, make sure it doesn't go off.
Okay.
Yeah, in retrospect, not great technology, it has to be said.
Okay.
Well, after that close call, I could see why the longbow was still preferable to the arquebus in the early 16th century.
Yeah, this is in a nice room without wind or moisture. Imagine like in the rain or.
With my arm now shaking, I had little confidence in hitting the target.
There we go. There we go.
Woo!
How was that?
Didn't actually feel too much of a kick.
No, it's quite light.
Have no idea where it's gone. I'm not going to look yet. I'm going to let Louis shoot first.
Guys, imagine if you didn't have quite a secure construction of the wood to the metal, and the metal wasn't exactly loose, and when it goes off, it like breaks off and then hits you in the face.
And then we'll see.
It's looking pretty good.
Cool. Awesome. Excited. Louis, you're up next, mate.
Quite annoyingly, that's looking like a very good shot. Well done, mate.
This guy's got a bit more
Right, so Luke's
bulk
done
to
a
him,
pretty
so
good
I
job
think he'll
there.
be able to.
Actually, a little bit disappointed with how well he's done. So let's just see if I can match that.
I think with this heavier weapon, he might do a little better.
Having survived an unnerving misfire, Luke had somehow managed to pull off a very impressive shot, and the pressure was on. It was time to channel my inner conquistador.
Open the pan, and you are good to go.
That was satisfying.
Quite the delay there, wasn't there?
Whoa.
Were you ready for that?
It was quite a delay.
I thought it was pretty
Yeah,
good.
I mean, just the amount of smoke that fills your face as soon
Yeah.
as you pull that trigger. It's a really light trigger, which I was kind of worried that it would, take a bit of a pull to get it to go off. But
Yeah.
I can't see it. I can't see
I
it.
can see it. I can see it. It's not looking great.
not
for
looking
you.
great.
It's a really good shot. Don't get me
It
wrong.
reminds me of those Halo 2, Halo 1 guns that like the green charge up, zzz, ding, you know, or like a May Overwatch May icicle.
It's on the target. It's just that you've been. Well, let's have a look.
Yeah, let's have a
Pop
look.
this down.
Let's go
here.
over.
Yep.
Right, well, that was what an experience, first of all. On Louis' one,
Yep.
as we come up to it, there was quite a delay on that. Was that usual? Did that happen quite a lot?
It did, yeah.
Guys, I thought that looked
you
pretty
can have
good.
all sorts of things go wrong with black powder firearms, and a hang fire is
Right.
one of them. That wasn't a hang fire, that was kind of normal operation.
Still hit the target,
No,
Louis.
that might have been enough for you to just pull the shot up slightly. The butt may have dropped in the shoulder.
Yeah.
But laterally, you are just to the right of the ball.
So, Luke, I have to admit, this is a pretty good shot.
I'm pleased with that.
Which must
I'm
be
chuffed.
beginner's luck.
I'm chuffed.
Must be beginner's luck. How do you do it, mate?
Honestly,
what's the secret?
My hand was shaking from the misfire because when you're holding
Yeah,
it
you could
after
tell
a
he was
good,
a bit,
minute, my hand was already wobbling.
Yep.
But somehow, I
No,
think
you've kept it on.
a slight fluke. popped
Sometimes
in.
instinct.
Right, so next up, Brown Bess.
Yeah. So
Let's see if I can regain my honour.
1700s?
Much better
ignition
Brown
technology, but this is for general issue, so you might find that it shoots less accurately. Let's see.
Give it a go.
Here we go. 1-0.
With the expansion of empires came the rapid evolution of the firearm. A couple of hundred years on from the arquebus came the trusty flintlock musket, a staple of the revolutionary period, and a weapon that has become synonymous with the British redcoat.
Right, so Jonathan, next weapon, we're moving forward a couple of centuries, right?
Yeah, give or take. The main leap forward here is the flintlock mechanism, which you'll see on the gun.
So this is like the longbow / bastard sword of America. See, America, we don't have a lot of far back history. And so this is like the most primitive weapons in our history, and
Various, yeah. So this is generically what we'd call, or what they called, at least into the 18th century, Brown Bess. It's a
Okay.
nickname meaning, well, Brown meant ordinary,
Okay.
Bess was a female nickname, and it's playing on the fact that, I mean, if you've seen Full Metal Jacket, you get the idea. This was your new wife. You were leaving the girlfriend behind, or the wife.
Plain Jane.
Well, she might come with you, but this is the one that mattered.
Yeah, you needed some company.
Yeah, and she'd look after you if you looked after her. That kind of idea. That's where the name comes from. But it covers a whole gamut of different muskets.
She'd
from
look after you if you looked after her.
1700-ish to the mid-19th century, actually.
Wow.
So this is the India pattern. So this is what was in use in the Napoleonic Wars.
Okay.
Comes in right at the end of the 18th century, and it's, they made 3 million of them.
Yeah.
So one of the more numerous, but it's still beautifully made, original 220-year-old
This
musket.
is an original weapon.
Yep.
This could have been used in battle.
It could have been.
In the Napoleonic Wars?
We can't say that, but it could have been.
What are the main differences between this weapon and the arquebus that we've just fired?
Yeah, so the big leap here, apart from much more reliable ignition from the shower of sparks that get carved off this bit of steel with this piece of flint, that's huge. You saw from the faffing with the match. The other improvements are, well, firstly, firepower. So we've missed out the English Civil War era musket, which was big and heavy and clunky. What we've done is combine those two. So the arquebus and the old school musket become one type of weapon that anyone can carry around. It's not too heavy, still very powerful. Blast through any armour that might still exist, although by then they've kind of given up. We believe with the early firearms, they were mostly firing them from the cheek, would you believe? Not even putting them in the shoulder like you did. This is definitely from the shoulder because you have to contain all that power and recoil, which is what you're about to do.
Yeah. So an 18th century infantryman would be able to fire 3-4 shots a minute?
3 was the requirement.
3 was the requirement. I'm probably going to load it a lot slower than that, but can I give it a go?
For safety reasons, if nothing else, we will be loading it slower than that.
Excellent.
But you can absolutely give it a go, yeah.
Good luck.
Notoriously, the Brown Bess musket was a handful to reload. Months of drilling was required.
I would love to get like a replica and not use real gunpowder, obviously, and just like see if I would pass
Before an infantryman was ready for combat. Something that soon became apparent to the two of us.
Okay, so Jonathan, unsurprisingly, I've never done this before. So I'm in your hands. What am I doing?
First step is to pick the thing up.
I think I can do that. Okay.
Firstly, to introduce the ammunition. So this is now in a prepared paper cartridge.
Oh, wow.
So the bullet is there. I'd hold it up at the neck with your fingers. So
There you go.
with your fingers up here, it's easier to tear it. That's it.
There we go.
That's it. Nice. Yeah, I think you've learned the first lesson there.
Not too far down, so that there's not loads of gunpowder in your mouth.
So pouring in the powder, using it like a little paper funnel. That's it. Perfect. Do that until it's all gone.
All gone.
Push in with your thumb, and then you want to keep your hand away from that muzzle. So finger and thumb from now on. So thumb to get it started, and then we want finger and thumb for safety. So hand away from the muzzle now.
Okay.
Because in theory this could go off.
Oh.
And push it down. Now we want you to use finger and thumb on this as much as you can for safety. It looks very tight.
It is.
There you go.
Come on.
I think he would have been shot by now.
Close enough. And then throw it down repeatedly. Let me just check it for you.
Yeah.
We want to be safe. Because if you have an air gap in the breech,
Then
it could potentially blow up.
blow up. Okay. Really
Most
don't want
likely
that.
it would be increased recoil, but
Okay.
So,
So now that's fully, I can hear it.
yep.
Can take out now.
Pull that out, spin it round,
Yep. Oh.
minding the ceiling.
Yeah.
We'll
spin it.
bill you for that later, don't worry. Right, we are now fully loaded.
That makes a lot of sense because if you think of the explosion in there, if it's firmly tight against the back, then all of it will want to immediately go out one way. But if it's a kind of give in either direction of the bullet, it's going to do like an explosion back into you and then probably push the bullet out, I would guess.
And primed. So bring it up to the hip, pointing at the target. And we now keep it in that condition the whole time because we don't want it going into the ceiling or anywhere else.
Okay.
Pointing down the range.
But there's going to be no delay with this one.
No, not really. Little bit compared to a modern firearm.
Hope your firing's better than your reloading.
I'm surprised that... I'm sort of surprised that the recoil and just overall violence of the explosion, of the firing, was bigger on this one than the 200-year prior model.
Quite a kickback.
Good.
Crikey.
Good effort there. Very good.
That
Crikey.
feels... It's certainly got more of a kick than the arquebus.
It really you're putting a much heavier bullet downrange and you're doing it with a lot more power.
I always thought crikey
Wow,
was
that
an
is
Australian thing.
powerful.
Purely
Oh,
Australian.
boy, my hands are sweating already after watching that.
Next shooter, please.
I can see it. That's going to be tough to beat.
After the disaster of the reload and what looked like a very solid shot from Louis, my confidence had been somewhat dented. But then I remembered I'd almost hit the bullseye with an arquebus. This would be easy, right?
Bullseye.
3, 2, 1.
Bullseye.
There we go. It's a very strong trigger.
Woo!
Nearly knocked you off your feet, Luke.
Probably better than I was.
That's what
Would be.
That's what makes it so reliable. Such a strong spring in there means every time you're shaving off lots of hot metal and creating the sparks.
Well, I would say firing it was easier than loading it, but they're both quite difficult. But yeah, I have no idea where it's gone, but let's have a look.
Let's go and have a look.
Let's have a look.
I don't even think I've hit the
Oh,
paper.
mate, is that your hole there?
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Just off the paper.
Oh, maybe it was beginner's luck, honestly.
So Jonathan, the first thing we can see is that these holes are a lot bigger.
They are
than
huge,
The
yes.
arquebus
Yep.
entry wounds,
Yep.
you might call them.
So funny enough, you've actually done better with the musket.
What do you mean, funnily enough? I mean,
But
there's nothing funny about it.
I haven't even hit the target, mate.
The question is, Jonathan, is Luke going to get into the green jackets rifle with shooting like this?
I'm going to make Sharp's regiment.
Well, the three of us probably, you know, we could have made it into a line regiment, line infantry regiment for sure. Light infantry, I'm not sure about the rifles.
The psychology behind people using these weapons in massed ranks shooting at each other, it's just otherworldly to us, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there isn't much in the way of modern warfare that compares.
War in the late 1700s, early to mid 1800s must have been insane. Just absolutely mind-blowing. The ranks with the cannons and the guns and the pomp and the amazing uniforms and just the pomp of it all, the grandeur of just imagine seeing a bunch of squares of thousands of men. Boom.
So the next weapon, going even more modern,
Yep.
the Lee Enfield,
Yes.
our final weapon for this test. Right now, it's 1-1.
It's 1-1.
So it all comes down to this.
All comes down to the Lee Enfield.
Breech load.
First introduced by the British in 1895, the Lee Enfield bolt-action rifle
Gotta be
was a
breech.
mainstay of the armies of the British Empire
Now
and
that-
Commonwealth during the first half of the 20th century.
That looks like a more modern gun.
Easy to manufacture en masse, and with over 17 million rifles having been built to date, the Lee Enfield has become associated with the British Tommy.
70 million? So this was like the Victorian era, the most amazing era in my imagination. This was the weapon.
Able to
At
load
least
a
late
10-round
Victorian.
magazine and with a firing rate of 20 to 30 rounds per minute, the bolt-action rifle turned the average soldier into an efficient killing machine.
Right, so
Actually,
Jonathan,
it was made in only 1897, so it really was the late Victorian.
we've got our final rifle this time, I'm right in saying.
We have now got a rifle, a little bit
Excellent.
behind with rifles because you know we had general issue or specific issue rifles by 1800 in the British Army. But by this point, not only has everyone got a rifle, they've now got a magazine rifle.
And the
Right.
bullet looks
so
familiar.
the advantage of this is that you can reload
Ammunition.
quickly, fire quickly, 5 rounds, 10 rounds at the enemy, which with the flintlock that we've just seen was not really an option.
Absolutely, yeah. Multiple shots rapidly, which is just unheard of with anything muzzle loading. Even the early breech loaders, so loading in the back, could only do one.
Yeah.
It's that innovation of not only a rapid mechanism, in this case it's a bolt action, but a magazine on the gun. So instead of your cartridges on your belt, they're already in the gun.
Yeah.
You just got to top them off.
So how are we going to test ourselves in this last round?
Yeah, so we're going to change it up a little bit because the first two weapons.
I wonder who was the first, or like when was the first time the ammo, the bullet projectile was changed from a sphere to a cone-shaped, more pointed projectile, and like who figured out that was a good idea?
Weapons are only capable of 1 round.
Okay.
This is capable of up to 10. So you're going to load 5, and we're going to judge you on the size of your group, just like a recruit would be judged effectively.
Okay.
So it's how tight that group is. We're not so worried about where it is on the target.
So it's more about the consistency of the shot.
Yeah, although if
rather
it
than
is
where
in the
lands.
bullseye, obviously you're going to be happier.
Bonus points.
And if you somehow shoot the same size group, that'll be the tiebreaker.
A slightly different
I'm so
challenge,
jealous right
but I
now.
felt confident. Before I could shoot, however, it was time to see if I'd have an easier task loading this weapon.
Okay, Jonathan, going to pick up the rifle. Now I'm hoping this is going to be easier to load than the musket.
Should be, yeah.
Good, okay.
So open up the mechanism.
Okay.
That's it, you've got it.
Back.
There's your charger, or
There it
charger
is.
clip, or stripper clip if you
Okay.
prefer. Push down just forward of where the clip is with your thumb till all 5 rounds are in.
There we go.
All the way down.
Oh.
All the way down. And then further. That's it. And then remove the clip. Give it some welly. That's it.
There we go.
And then what you can do is put the safety on like that.
There we go.
And then you're ready to get into
Ready to
your
fire.
shooting position.
Okay, I am now ready.
I will remove the safety for you. Okay, you can now fire and reload and fire again.
What a beautiful looking gun, too. It just looks so good.
Fire
When
again.
ready.
Okay. Moment of truth.
Finger and thumb on the bolt handle if you can.
Oh, I was going
That's
the
it.
wrong way, that's why.
There's your problem.
Right, yeah.
Aiming at the same point each time.
Yeah.
Holding it the same way each time. Got it. That's how you need to do it every time. Holding it the same way each time. Got it. That's how you need to do it every time. One more. Nice. Good. Unload.
Yeah.
Okay, clear. Put it down on the
Clear.
bench. How's that?
Woo. Yeah, it felt much nicer to shoot than the
all-
musket.
All in the technique.
All in the technique, yeah. We'll see how good I was with the grouping, but yeah.
Natural, Luke.
It was
Natural.
a pleasure. It was a pleasure to shoot.
A solid final effort from Luke. It was now my turn
looked
to
like he really
complete
got a
our
hang of
beginner
the
version
reloading
of
or
the
the-
Mad Minute.
Not reloading the...
Give it some. That's it. You are now cocked. We'll put it on safe till you get into firing position. Let me know when you're ready. Finger off the trigger till you're ready to fire. Ready? That's all right. Okay, so in your own time. Up, back, use the shoulder, that's it. Okay.
I'd really love to... Obviously, we're going to see how good he was. I'd really love to see how fast, like, a trained person can go, just so I can see how fast it, like, you're allowed to go with. Like, would it be like, boom, boom, boom? Like, what is the fastest time in between bullets that can be achieved, I wonder?
Okay, unload. So open the action as though you were reloading. We just want the empty out. Clear. Lay it down, and we'll see how you both did.
Oh, Luke! Have you seen? Oh, I'd absolutely
did well,
no
I
idea.
reckon.
But I am very, very happy with this.
It's almost overlapping.
You should be. That's
Yeah,
very
he
good.
almost had...
one flyer there. the four are very close together,
Yeah, not bad, Luke, but you know.
and actually slightly closer to the bullseye if we did care
Exactly.
about that.
You see, I was trying to see if that one was even closer to his, but I can't even win on that score. So
Well, it
he's
was
picked me again.
close run thing though. Only in the last round,
Yeah, I mean,
and you've both done really well. First time shooters.
If we stick to 16th century guns from now, I think I'll be fine.
the experience of going through those 3 weapons from the 1500s right up to the 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
experience of just kind of seeing exactly the kind of technological development between each. I mean, they're so different, aren't they?
So yeah, I mean, there are still people using bolt-action rifles today. So right the way up to present in terms of its legacy technology, but they're still getting used. You've both done really well, honestly. First time shooters. You haven't fired anything before this?
No, not really.
No. So to fire like 3 different weapons from 3 totally different eras of history, and to do this well is really good. Well done,
lads.
So it's a joint victory, isn't it?
I think that's 2-0 in the series, Luke, now, isn't it?
I've got my work cut out.
No, thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, guys.
Healthy competition.
Another challenge lost for me. But as rookie
okay,
recruits, both Louis and I couldn't help feeling a sense of pride in our performance.
So, Luke, how are we feeling about our kind of grouping with the Lee Enfield there?
I'll be honest, I'm not actually too disappointed with my grouping. Still hitting the targets, but you've done exceptionally well there, I can't deny. But overall, I think chuffed with myself with the arquebus. Really didn't expect the first time firing anything that looked like that, or anything like that. But a bit disappointed with the musket, I must admit.
The more technologically advanced it was, the worse you got.
Yeah, that is strange, isn't it?
But incredible for anyone that's not fired those weapons before. So different, weren't they? Like going from the delayed firing on the arquebus, the sort of pure, just raw power
That was satisfying.
of that flintlock musket, and then the Lee Enfield at the end. It was just kind of. I wouldn't say it was more like a gun like a pellet gun that you used to fire. It was so much more powerful, but in terms of the accuracy and the aiming sights and everything like that, it was a lot easier to use, certainly.
Exactly, and I think you can understand, the period in which they're using the arquebus. There are also, soldiers who would prefer the longbow. You can sort of understand that with the reload times, and it's a bit of a.
Biggest reason I would is seemingly because of. If you're not in perfect weather, it seems like it goes downhill fast.
Pain, but once you get to the Lee Enfield, I mean, those things are just, you can put them in the hands of any soldier with some basic training, and they turn into killing machines, really, and you can sort of understand the devastation of the First World War with that in context. So, but yeah, pleasure to shoot them.
Great fun. We'll come up with a new competition soon.
Yeah, 2-0. I've got my work cut out.
That's why World War I is so incredible to me, and in many ways much more interesting than World War II. In many ways, not to say in all ways, but the fact that it was the first big scale war with these mass-made bolt-action rifles, where it required much less training, and with the artillery and machine guns and land and mines. Well, mines must have been just all the technology that World War I just stands out as the war where the technology really hadn't been seen before and on that scale. Interesting video, awesome. It's really I really expected the explosion and kind of fear around maybe firing one of these weapons to go down with each century or each 2 centuries, but it seems like the middle one, the 17th century, the 18th century one, 1700s one was the most kind of intimidating to look at people fire, which was interesting. Cool, love it. I'm jealous. I would have loved to partake. I will one day. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, maybe not an arquebus or something. And enjoy that as much as I did. Chin up if you're not doing well. You'll be good soon. Don't worry. See you guys.